Bonjour, les amis. Welcome back to Generate Her. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. And if you're new here, really happy to have you. Reporting to you from Paris. And it's a city I think about a lot. And I will tell you, after living here for 20 years, which is a significant part of my adult life, I always ask myself, why do people come to Paris? And if you read my memoir, you'll know that I think I'm one person in the world that was not enchanted with Paris. I had a really difficult visit when I was a teenager, when I think we all in those years desperately want to fit in. And I felt like I stood out like a sore thumb. But I recognize that Paris is one of the most visited cities on the earth. And I have the pleasure of meeting regularly so many people that come here and they feel so wonderful here. And I ask myself, why? And I'm doing my little scientific experiments to understand why that why is and what's the answer to it. And I think I'm finally onto something. I think it's because here in Paris, people find other versions of themselves. They get in touch with a version of themselves that they love, that they feel is beautiful, that they feel is cultured, that they feel is free. Welcome to Generate Her. I'm Jane Bertch. I spent the first half of my life working in a corporate organization, and then I decided to trade that all in to become an entrepreneur. Yes, here in your favorite city of Paris, France. And today, I hope I'm a guide on your journey to personal reinvention and transformation. So I went on my personal investigation of what are those versions of us and how do we express them? And I say versions, I mean plural, which led me back to a concept that we all hear and talk about, and it's the voice. And I'm not talking about the vocal cords that are vibrating right now that make these sounds that you hear as English. I'm talking about the figurative voice and what it means. And I've come to see that a voice is our values. It's how we present. It's who we are. No matter what we say, it's who we are. And I've really become fascinated with it because I have, over the past year, since I published my book, explored writing more. I have this podcast. I've done things that are outside of my normal. I've been experimenting with other versions of myself. And in doing so, I've said I'm trying to find my voice, or I'm finding my voice, or I'm having fun testing my voice. And I'm not the only person that's used that phrasing. So I've really dug into what is the voice? It's something we all have. And how do we use it? And recently, in reading, I'm reading a wonderful book called The Science of Happiness. I'll put it in the show notes. And early into the book, something struck me. Because the author starts talking about the looking glass self. The looking glass self. And it's the notion that who we are and the sense of self for us is often constructed by what others think of us, how we show up, how we present. And I thought, I'm a very big introvert. And when I say that to people that see me in a professional setting, they're surprised. Because in a professional setting, I can be gregarious, I can be talkative. I'm there to host people. And that's very much a part of me, as is the part of me that can come home on a Friday evening and not talk to a soul until Monday and be very fine with it and curl up with a good book, and I am just as right as rain. And those two different versions of me sometimes feel in conflict with one another. And I feel like I'm two different people in one. And not only have I seen that I'm two different people, I've had friends comment, friends who've seen me in a professional setting, who know me well and know me intimately and know my natural disposition, have said, Jane, you're different when you're in front of people. And I think, my God, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Don't we all wear different hats? I think that's rather normal. But sometimes it makes me wonder, am I not being authentic? And then I read this piece in Professor Bruce Hood's book that says, the looking glass self is often why we feel we're not being true to ourselves. We behave differently in the boardroom, in the bedroom, on the playing field, or among the different groups we are members of. And this makes us uncomfortable. Being consistent within each of those relationships is desirable. So we maintain integrity. But you cannot behave the same way across different groups because that would be inappropriate. And he goes on to explain the differences in how you would behave at home makes sense versus how you behave at work. And it really struck with me. I read this and I honestly had a sigh of relief. And I thought, so it's normal that we have different voices. And I guess in my quest to find my voice in Paris, again, 20 years is quite a long time. And those have been formative years. And I've thought about my voices. And then I realize I have so many of them. And I think we all do. And I think we need to feel comfortable and confident that that's normal. And I can tell you that my voice at work is different than my voice at home. And it's different than my voice when I'm speaking French. And it's different than my voice when I'm tired or stressed out or énervé, upset, as the French would say. And all of those voices form who I am. And no matter what the voice is, which could shift and change depending on who I'm with, I try to stick to the core. Is it my truth at that point? And that, to me, is the most important litmus test. Is that the truth? And the reason I feel so compelled to talk about this is particularly, I also wear the hat of a woman in business who has to make decisions, who often has to negotiate things. That's a different Jane than the Jane at home, who is more reserved and quiet and a bit of an introvert. That's a different Jane than the one that's with her friends, which can be a bit of a class clown. And I also think that's a coping mechanism. It's a tool we all have to fit in the way we feel most comfortable in the different arenas we play in. And I don't know if anyone out there listening to this will hear that and think, oh, thank God I'm not being phony. I'm not acting inauthentically. These are different versions of me, very much like the analogy I like to use. These are the different petals on my flower, and they all are a part of who I am. And if I can just talk for a moment about the self-preservation in that. Somebody out there listening to this might have to wear multiple hats. They may be a business leader and they have to perform in front of their team or in front of their clients. They may have a home that they're running and they have to perform in front of their families. They may be a part of a community and that requires a different version of them. And I think that is self-preservation. And I think that's adaptability. And I think that's beautiful because that's the mosaic of who you are. And if anyone out there listening to this, like me, is an introvert and perhaps shy, if you want to test that, invite me to a party where I don't know anyone, and you will be shocked. I will stand in the corner, most likely, for half of the evening until I see the one person that I know, and I'll grab them and hold them hostage until the point that I think it's okay to leave without being rude. But it doesn't mean I don't want to be there. I'm always so happy to be included. But those are stretches for me. On the other hand, when I'm at work, I'm so excited to see the people that walk in. I'm so happy to talk with them. I'm so happy to hug. I've had hundreds of hugs this year, more hugs than I've ever had in my life. And I love that too. And it makes me think of Beyonce and the importance of sometimes having an avatar. But that avatar is still you. It's just a different way you show up. We've all heard the name Sasha Fierce. Sasha Fierce, from what I've come to learn, is who we see on stage. It's who we see performing and dancing and wooing the crowd and being outgoing and creating this incredible atmosphere. That's Sasha Fierce. Beyonce is who's off stage. And that same person who we may see dancing and having a wonderful time could be very quiet and reserved on other stages. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that normal and acceptable and healthy to be able to wear those different hats? So with all the voices I've found, and I have many, I just gave you a small list. I said voices, not personalities. But maybe they do go hand in hand. I've come to accept that each of them is an integral part of Jane. They're not role-playing. They're not phony. They're not without authenticity. They're just another version of me, depending on where I am. So I hope as you're finding your voice, you may uncover just a few others, some very special ones that are hidden there that you bring out from time to time. Because I think they're as dynamic and beautiful as you are. So there we are, friends. It's a short and sweet one, but I wanted to share it because it's been on my mind. And it's something we often talk about. And I think the real secret is seeing them, acknowledging them for what they bring and who they are and what they add to you, accepting them, and loving them. Wouldn't we all be better off if we could do that? And I haven't cracked the code. I'm still learning every day. So, friends, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it left you with a little food for thought, something to think about. Please share it with a friend if you think they might enjoy it. And in the meantime, be proud of all of those wonderful different versions of you and how they show your ability to adapt, to respond to the people in front of you, and to show off this wonderful, diverse, extraordinary creature you are. Until the next time, friends, waiting for you in Paris, whichever version you bring.